Have you ever wondered what it takes to rebuild an entire continent from ashes, to turn bitter enemies into the closest of allies? Today, we're journeying back in time, not to a battlefield, but to a quiet office, a visionary speech, and a single groundbreaking idea that changed the course of European history forever. This is the story of how a continent, twice devastated by war within a generation, chose a future of peace and unity over a past of hatred and division. He understood that treaties and grand promises weren't enough. To build a lasting peace, you had to change the very foundation of the relationship between nations, especially between the historical rivals France and Germany. Monet had a revolutionary idea. What were the two essential ingredients for war? Coal and steel. Coal fueled the factories and railways, and steel built the tanks, the ships, the weapons. He reasoned that if you could pool the control of these critical resources under a common, independent authority, you would make war between France and Germany not just unthinkable, but materially impossible. You can't secretly build an army if your neighbor, and a shared authority, knows exactly how much steel you're producing. It was a simple, yet profoundly brilliant concept. It wasn't about conquering or punishing. It was about sharing and building together. This idea needed a political champion, someone with the courage and influence to present it to the world. Monet found that champion in the French foreign minister, Robert Schuman. On May 9, 1950, in the Salon de l'Horloge at the French Foreign Ministry, Schuman delivered a speech that would echo through the decades. It wasn't a long or bombastic speech. It was measured, pragmatic, and filled with a quiet, powerful hope. He declared, "World peace cannot be safeguarded without the making of creative efforts proportionate to the dangers which threaten it." He then proposed the creation of what would become the European Coal and Steel Community. He called for France, Germany, and any other European country willing to participate, to place their entire coal and steel production under a common high authority. This wasn't just an economic proposal. It was a political earthquake. It was the first concrete step towards a united Europe. Think about the sheer audacity of this moment. French and German politicians, who just a few years earlier were on opposite sides of a brutal war, were now being asked to sit at the same table and manage their most vital industries together. The psychological barrier was immense. For this to work, it required a leap of faith from all sides. Germany, led by Chancellor Konrad Adenauer, saw the opportunity. For a nation trying to rebuild its reputation and reintegrate into the international community, this was a path to redemption and equality. Adenauer responded positively and swiftly. Italy, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg also saw the wisdom in Schumann's proposal. They too had suffered immensely from the continent's endless wars and yearned for a new era of stability and prosperity. On April 18, 1951, less than a year after Schumann's declaration, the 6 founding members signed the Treaty of Paris, officially establishing the European Coal and Steel Community, or the ECSC, for the first time. A portion of national sovereignty was voluntarily handed over to a supranational body, an institution that stood above the individual nations for the common good. This was the seed from which the entire European Union would eventually grow. This success paved the way for further integration. In 1957, the same 6 countries signed the Treaties of Rome, creating the European Economic Community, or EEC. This expanded the common market beyond coal and steel to include all goods, creating a powerful economic bloc. The goal was, as the treaty stated, to lay the foundations of an ever-closer union among the peoples of Europe. Over the following decades, this project of peace and prosperity expanded. More countries, seeing the success of the founding members, chose to join the community. From the UK, Ireland, and Denmark in the 70s, to Greece, Spain, and Portugal in the 80s, the community grew. After the fall of the Berlin Wall, it opened its arms to the newly free nations of Central and Eastern Europe, helping to heal the Cold War division of the continent. What started as a simple plan to manage coal and steel evolved into the European Union. We know today a single market of nearly 450 million people, a common currency, and a framework for cooperation on everything from environmental protection to scientific research. The day of that fateful speech, May 9th, is now celebrated every year as Europe Day, a testament to the enduring power of that initial vision. Of course, the journey has not always been smooth. The EU has faced crises, disagreements, and intense debates about its future direction. But the fundamental principle established by Schuman and Monet remains: the idea that dialogue is better than conflict, that cooperation is better than confrontation, and that our shared interests are greater than our divisions. So, the next time you hear about Europe, remember that it's not just a collection of countries or a bureaucratic entity. It's the living legacy of a brave and hopeful decision made in the shadow of war. It's a testament to the idea that even the deepest wounds can be healed, that old enemies can become new friends, and that from the darkest of nights, a new dawn is always possible. It all began with a simple, powerful idea: let's share our coal and steel, and in doing so, build a shared and lasting peace. Thanks for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this story inspiring, please hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into history, and share your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next video.